But then, let me introduce the man of the hour to you. Hakeem Jeffries represents the diverse 8th Congressional District of New York. And he is serving his 7th term in the United States Congress. Representative Jeffries is the Democratic leader, having been unanimously elected to that position by his colleagues in November 2022 and again in November 2024. In that capacity, he is the highest-ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. He's also the former chair of the Democratic Caucus, whip of the Congressional Black Caucus, and co-chair of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, where he helped develop the For the People agenda. Now, in Congress, Leader Jeffries is a tireless advocate for social and economic justice. He's worked hard to help residents recover from the devastation of the once-in-a-century COVID-19 pandemic. He's helped reform our criminal justice system, and he's helped improve the economy for everyday Americans and protected us and our health care from right-wing attacks. Now, prior to his election to the Congress, Leader Jeffries served for 6 years in the New York State Assembly in my district. And in that capacity, he authored laws to protect the civil liberties of law-abiding New Yorkers during police encounters. He encouraged the transformation of vacant luxury condominiums into affordable homes for working families, and he improved the quality of justice in the civil court system. Leader Jeffries was born in Brooklyn Hospital. He was raised in Crown Heights, and he is the product of the New York City public school system, having graduated from Midwood High School. Allow me to introduce our clarion in Congress, our warrior in Washington, D.C., the only man on Capitol Hill to throw a Yankee fitted on and talk it like he walks it. One and only, put your hands and hearts together for our minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries.
Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. What an honor. What an honor to be here with all of you back home in Brooklyn. It's just good to be home in Brooklyn with all that's happening in the nation. Now, they say that Times Square is the crossroads of the world. But we know that Brooklyn is the center of the universe. And so, it's good to be here. This is a really unexpectedly nice day. And so to see so many folks come out, you could be at Canarsie Pier. You could be enjoying the Shirley Chisholm State Park. Or you could be on the Cyclone in Coney Island screaming right now. But it's good to see all of you here. It's a testament to the fact that, of course, we know you care about this community, you care about the city, and of course you care about this country. Thank you. And we know that these are very challenging times that we're dealing with in Washington, all across the country. Donald Trump is president and Republicans temporarily in control of the House of Representatives. And unfortunately, in Washington, we know with many of these Republicans, they don't seem to understand what America is all about. Here in America, we don't have a king, we don't have a monarch, we don't have a dictator, we have a democracy. And we're going to fight to keep this democracy. And in a democracy, if you serve in the Congress, you don't work for Donald Trump. You don't work for Elon Musk. We work for all of you, the American people. All of you, the American people. And so, throughout this town hall meeting, We're going to hear from some of your neighbors, because as we deal with this unprecedented assault on America, we want to make sure that we are anchoring our response through the voices of the American people. We were successful in doing that back in 2005, before I got to the Congress. George Bush had just been reelected, and Republicans then controlled also the House and the Senate in much greater numbers than they do right now. And the first thing they did in 2005 was to try to go at Social Security. They tried to privatize Social Security. But the American people rose up. The American people rose up. Their voices were heard. We made sure to anchor the response through the voices of the American people, all of you and those that you'll hear from today. And we stopped the Republicans from privatizing Social Security in 2005. And then we know the last time that this country had to deal with this situation, unfortunately, we're dealing with it again. But after the election of 2016, when so-and-so was elected the first time, and Republicans temporarily controlled the House and the Senate then. In fact, they had a much deeper majority in the House, and the first thing they went after was they wanted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And once again, the American people, the voices of everyday Americans, as you will hear from today, and the voices that are here at this town hall meeting, rose up. And despite the fact that they had the president, they controlled the House, and they controlled the Senate, we stopped them from repealing the Affordable Care Act, and it's alive and well right now. And so consistent with that approach, we'll begin tonight by just hearing for just a few moments from some of your neighbors about the things that are on their mind, the things that they care about, the things that they're concerned about, and then we'll transition into an opportunity to hear from you and your questions and your answers. Does that sound okay? All right, so lastly, I'll just say this unprecedented assault that's underway, it's an unprecedented assault on the economy. It's an unprecedented assault on Social Security. This is why all across America, House Democrats partnering with Senate Democrats, we're holding a Save Social Security Day of Action. Hundreds of events like this have gone on all throughout the day, all across America. It's an unprecedented assault on our health care, targeting Medicaid, unprecedented assault on our veterans, our public employees, our federal workers, an unprecedented assault on the American way of life, and of course, on our democracy. And so we understand this is a serious time. Serious time. It's going to require character and conviction and courage amongst all of us. Because this stuff that's taking place right now, it's not normal. It's not normal at all. This is not America. This is unacceptable. It's unconscionable. It's un-American. So all of us together, House Democrats and Senate Democrats and governors and mayors and elected officials, civic leaders, community-based organizations, and most importantly, all of you, the American people. We're going to be called upon to show up and speak up and stand up for what we know is right. Just like John Lewis did. Just like Rosa Parks did. Just like Dr. King did. Just like Shirley Chisholm from this very community did. We got to stand up, we got to show up, we got to speak up for what we know is right. We got to do it every hour, every day, every week, every month, this year, next year, the year after that, whatever it takes until we end this national nightmare and restore the American dream. God bless you, everybody.
Before we continue, I want to acknowledge and give some love to Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse in the building. Thank you for coming. So we have some amazing constituent speakers, and you're going to hear from each one of them. I'm going to read briefly a couple of sentences about who they are, and then they'll come in their own way and speak to you for a few minutes, okay? So I'm going to go through each of them. Please hold your applause, and then we're going to go directly into the constituent speakers. First, we have Ms. Yonette Wilson. Ms. Wilson is an 1199 member who works at Interfaith Hospital as a dietary aide. Ms. Wilson is the caretaker of her father, who was diagnosed with multiple chronic illnesses, and he depends on Medicaid insurance for his medical treatments. We have Wayne Starks. Wayne Starks is a senior living with HIV, and he was recommended by Social Security Works. Unable to work, he relies on Social Security disability benefits, and he has worked with Vocal NY to protect SSD benefits for people living with HIV. We have Bettina Calloway, who is a 20-year employee and former parent at Bedford-Stuyvesant Early Childhood Development Center. Her grandchildren are enrolled in Head Start programming, and she has witnessed the difference it has made in her family's life. She's an advocate for quality early childhood programming for all. We have Kevin Meggett, Regional Commander for the National Association for Black Veterans and a member of Veterans Action Now. For the past 12 years, he has been an advocate for workforce development training for veterans. We have Amira Watson Sr., an employee of the Campaign Against Hunger, who is prepared to speak about the impact of SNAP cuts and challenges food banks are facing in meeting the rising demand and high food costs. And then we have Bridget Adams, 62-year-old Navy veteran from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. She is a member of National Association of Black Military Women. She will share her experiences and challenges claiming VA benefits and share a recent cut under the Trump administration to eliminate DEI programs. That ain't right. So I'll bring up Yonette first and foremost. Okay.
Good afternoon, good evening, elected official and community members, members of the community, my 1199 family. I hereby stand this evening. My name is Yonette Wilson, and I work at Interfaith Medical Center as a dietary aide. I'm a caregiver to my father, who has multiple and chronic illnesses, diabetes, prostate cancer, and heart problem. And to sit back and see that our Medicaid and Medicare is going to be stripped away by the unscrupulous and greed people with greed and these big corporations to get tax breaks on the backs of our working class family is a great injustice to our people. I stand here and ask you that we all fight collectively. And what we plan to do to stop this bleeding of these greedy corporations. It has been devastating for my family because we never expected that. And my father relies solely on Medicaid and Medicare to pay for his benefits, his medication, and everyday living expenses, also home care. It would greatly impact him and other seniors and people with disability should we sit back and allow them to strip our Medicaid and Medicare. This is really wrong. I am flabbergasted to see how these people sleep at night. Do they have a conscience? How are we going to sit back and see if we have to decide if I pay for my Medicaid or do I go hunger? Or am I able to pay my rent, or how am I going to meet my obligation? It bothers me because I can see there are heartless and cruel people in this society in which we live that only foster problems for others only to get greed and to pocket for themselves and their cronies. Are we going to sit back and allow this to happen? No. I'm going to fight, and I am here, and I'm here with our elected official, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries. I will stand with you and others, and I would go to the end of the earth to fight for what is right. Healthcare is a basic human right, and each and every one of us deserve this care. And I would fight relentless. I would not stop until we have Medicaid and Medicare for all New Yorkers, regardless of your color, skin color, creed, or background, or ethnicity. We deserve it. Thank you.
Next up is Wayne. Yeah, Wayne Starks.
Good afternoon, family, neighbors. My name is Wayne Starks, and I'm really proud to be here. I've been doing a lot of advocating, since for a while now, fighting the system, fighting Washington, trying to get the right things done. And they've always tried to knock me down. I'll give you one example. Years ago, I'm HIV positive, but they wanted people that lived with HIV to spend 70% of their income towards rent. And I'm like, that's impossible. I can't do that. But the organization that I was with, we fought that. So it's like a full circle for me now. I have a breathing condition. I can't walk up that many stairs. Medicaid wanted to, Medicaid would not pay for my breathing machine. All right, I had to fight with them for my breathing machine. And the doctors said, he needs a breathing machine to breathe. And I'm like, why can't you see that the doctors are saying I need this? But so finally, they did pay for it. But what I wanted to say is, all my life, I worked all my life. They told me that FISA score they take out, what do they call it? When they take out that Social Security, that was supposed to be to take care of me, to help me survive when I get older. I'm 75 years old now, and they want to snatch that away? No, I can't. They lied to me, and I believe the government. But now they want to take all of ours away, so we can't let that happen. I'm not letting it happen. I told the congressman I'm behind him 100%. I might be a little disabled, but I'm going to, every crook, every step I can take, I'm going to be behind him, and behind you guys, because I'm up here talking for you guys. A lot of people can't talk for themselves. So I represent you. I represent my neighbors, I represent the community because we need help, and we need you to also. We need you to also to stand up, and fight with us. Thank you, guys. I messed up.
No, I had to walk because there was something very significant before my 3 minutes. I went to South Shore High School, not far from here. I had a child at 13. He attended Canarsie, our rival. He played football here. And before he was 18, he was killed. He never got to walk and graduate across the stage. So when you asked me to give me the mic and sit down, I said, no, I'm walking. For him, because 35 years ago, he couldn't. But that ain't the point of the night. Good evening, Congressman Jeffries, any and other political representatives, fellow Brooklynites, early child care workers, advocates, and the community. I'm honored to stand before you as a Head Start success story. Many years ago, as a parent in need of services, a Head Start recruiter from Bed-Stuy Head Start met me on the street and told me about a program that would give my family a head start. It sounded great, but I had to go home and tell my Caribbean baby daddy that I had to take the kids out of home and take them to a school, because he said, you don't do that. The mothers stay home and take care of the kids. But after a while, I won him over. He was hesitant at first because he feared that something would happen. But I knew he got invested when he came and he saw it, and he said it was all right. And our children became independent thinkers and decision makers by the curriculum that they learned at Head Start. I'm sorry. He felt that it was all right. I knew when he was invested because he told me I could go and I could grow. During my tenure as a parent, I became a policy council chairperson, not only for my agency, I became the policy chairperson for New York City from ACS. My agency received the grant from ACS. ACS received the grant from HSS, and HSS received the grant from an act of Congress. Last week, that agency, Region 2 Head Start, that represent New York, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and New Jersey, was closed. They selected me, ACS, to be our national representative to Head Start. I spoke to many mayors, governors, and sat in forums in Congress. I would never have believed or imagined that it was me. After receiving many trainings, awards, and accolades, I have had the opportunity to train over 10,000 people and still counting. As a staff member, I was afforded the same opportunity. To hear and feel that people don't believe that Head Start works is amazing, and figuring it can be so easily tossed aside is catastrophic. Those people are not in tune, nor do they have the heartbeat of the people. Head Start helped me develop my self-esteem. Head Start gave me confidence to go beyond the limits that I had set for my family. Head Start motivated me to represent on PTAs of my children's schools. Head Start taught me about community. A community thrives when it is valued. A community grows when they are afforded resources. Communities grow when they are nurtured and loved. In closing, I have a passion for Head Start. I can't wait daily to help and shape and mold the families of the families that I serve. I know it took my family from welfare to cared for well. And today, my children and my adult grandchildren that are in college or have gainfully employed jobs. This was a first in my family. For my 10 siblings, none of them had ever gone to college, nor had their children. And thus, Head Start has encouraged me and encouraged us to remove that generational curse. As I began to transition out, I fight not to the death, but for the long life of this Head Start program. For a generation abound with needs is coming. Please write, please stand up, and show up for Head Start, because Head Start matters and Head Start works. Good evening, and thank you again, Congressman Jeffries, for the opportunity to be heard and have a voice.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Leader Jeffries for allowing me to speak. I'd like to thank you for also listening to me. My name is Kevin Meggett. I am a United States combat veteran, the very first Gulf War. Thank you. I've been working with the veteran community population for over 12 years, doing homeless veteran reintegrating veterans back into our society. I got into this line of work as a client. And it's funny how life would treat you. You become, I didn't choose to become a veteran advocate. I believe it chose me. And I don't think I ever got a chance to personally thank the leader. I went to one of his events that he was hosting a couple of years ago, and all of the veterans that I've helped get service connected. I never stopped to get myself service connected. And I spoke to then Dennis McDonough, who heads the VA, outstanding man, and he said to me, put in your paperwork after he heard my story, because I was a PAC Act recipient. My ship caught on fire. I was exposed to AFFF, which is aqueous film-forming foam, which is a highly contaminant agent, as well as halon. After putting in my paperwork, I was able to secure 100% service connection for myself. And in doing so, I started to actually do more and more for veterans. So I am the regional commander for the National Association for Black Veterans. I would like to thank my state commander, Cortez Moore, who came all the way down to see me. But as veterans, we have to fight, because I was in the VA with a veteran who was showing symptoms of Camp Lejeune, and he doesn't have any paperwork in. And on a sign in the regional VA, it said, Lincoln's promise to protect. We would care for veterans, their families, and their caregivers who have bravely fought for the country. And watching us have things stripped away that we earned is not a shame, it's criminal. With that, I yield my time.
Good evening. Good evening, Brooklyn. Good evening, Canarsie. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Amria Watson, and I am the Senior Benefit Access Manager from the Campaign Against Hunger. So today I'm going to address the food insecurity issue that we're having in our communities. And I'm pretty sure that we all are facing some sort of hunger issue. As we all know, there's a proposed cut for SNAP benefits. There's a proposed cut to demolish food pantries. There's a proposed cut to end the food program in our schools. This cannot happen. I'm glad you agree with me, because a hungry person becomes an angry person. And I don't think they want to see Brooklyn get angry. Right? In my everyday duties, I help people to get SNAP. We also have a food pantry that we assist people to get the very food that they need, the essentials. And on a daily basis, I see the tears of people who are trying to qualify for SNAPs. And because they're 50 cents over the budget, they can't get it. That's a problem. Every day we see people that are crying because they're working, but they have to join our pantry lines. That's a problem. Every day I see people that have children that has to depend on school lunches, breakfast in schools, and they have the audacity to want to cut that. That's a problem. This is a fight not only for our congressman, but it's for all of us to stand behind him, stand beside him, and fight. There's no way we can let Brooklyn go hungry. There's no way we can let New York go hungry. This is a fight that we can never stop, but keep pushing. Thank you.
Hello, Brooklyn. So I want to thank Speaker Jeffries for the opportunity to speak. I also want to take a moment to thank you and your staff who were able to facilitate my VA claim from 20% to 90%. And I had actually been fighting since 2008, and your office was able to conciliate within 3 months. Wow. So only 1% of our total population volunteers to join and serve the actual U.S. military. Our military promises to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So I served the U.S. Navy for 20 years and 10 months. Thank you, thank you. Our sailors' creed states that we are committed to excellence and the fair treatment of all. That being said, I know that this new administration has reneged on its obligation to aid and assist our veterans, particularly women veterans of color. I was in a therapy group for 2 years with women of color, not just Black, but everyone, Hispanic, Asian, and as of February 1st, they shut our therapy unit down due to DEI. So I'm just here to seek relief from the decimation of our VA benefits and our Social Security benefits and assistance also. Those are the things that keep me up at night. And I just want y'all to keep fighting the fight and just fight the power. Fight the power.
Let's give it up for all of our neighbors who we heard from to get us started. Thankful for their spirit, their courage, their heart, their soul, and their intellect. And we're in this fight until we win this fight.
Appreciate you. Again, keep clapping for our constituents. This was amazing. Your stories are our stories, and I appreciate you guys for sharing your stories today. So we're going to move on in the program as we clear the stage and get set for our Q&A start of the program. And so we have 5 topics, 5 topic points, 5 categories that we have questions that I'm going to pull at random. And the question owners are in the building. So I'm going to speak on the question, and then I'm going to tell you their name and their neighborhood, and then they're going to ask the question. But first we have a video for you, and then we'll move forward.
Want to give their names first? Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the Republicans, they want to take a chainsaw to Medicaid. They want to take a chainsaw to Social Security. They want to take a chainsaw to Medicare. Then let me be clear, we're going to take a chainsaw to Project 2025.
Where's Elon Musk? I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so evident, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security.
So to Trump and to Elon Musk, I have 5 words. Hands off our Social Security! Hands off our Social Security!
Mr. Telko, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts? No. The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government. Ms. Royal, do you know how much the average person in this country who survives on Social Security, one of our seniors who's worked their entire life, about how much they have to survive on a day?
I do not.
$65 a day. We're not looking into Elon Musk's $8 million a day. This subcommittee, chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene and the House Republicans, is looking into your grandmother's $65 a day.
When they told us to just lay down and take it, what did we do? We fought back, and here we are in their faces.
On the campaign trail, President Trump promised to protect your hard-earned Social Security benefits. However, now he has sent trickster Elon Musk and his flim-flam government agency DOGE after the Social Security database. While courts across our country step in to try and stop DOGE, its destabilization continues at an alarming rate. And I'm concerned Elon Musk wants to privatize Social Security, and he, through his new computer company that he just bought, is going to try to be paid by the government to manage those accounts.
Now, we all know that we're living in some dark times. We see the foundations of our society, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the very safety nets that people have fought for generations to ensure that our country lives up to its promise, are being targeted by the billionaires and the oligarchs and the corporations.
If we don't protect Medicaid, it will be catastrophic. Over 80 million people in this country rely on Medicaid for their health care. 3 million of them are in Pennsylvania. 110,000 of them in my district.
The president chose to take actions that he didn't even have the authority to take. He's put our economy in disarray and near collapse. We have small businesses and Americans who are concerned about their well-being, people's retirement, people's 529 accounts went down because of this administration. We have people that are planning to send their kids to college this fall. People who are retiring whose benefits have declined. Is this market manipulation?
No.
Why not? If it was a plan, if it was always the plan, how is this not market manipulation?
It's not market manipulation, sir.
Well, then what is it? Because it sure is not a strategy.
Hands off our Social Security. Hands off our Medicaid. Hands off Medicare. Hands off SNAP. Hands off our kids. Hands off women's rights. Hands off LGBTQ rights.
And we're going to do everything that we need to do.
Thank you, sir.
It's an all-hands-on-deck effort.
Yeah.
We're going to fight on your behalf in the Congress.
Yeah.
We're fighting on your behalf in the courts.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure we do what we need to do in the community.
Yeah.
Because they want us to step back. We're here to push back.
Yeah.
We're here to push back on your behalf.
Yeah.
Thankful for your dignity. Thankful for your determination. Thankful for all that you do.
Yeah.
For the children of America.
Yes, sir.
The families of America.
Yeah.
The seniors of America. The Social Security recipients of America. The Medicare recipients of America. The veterans of America. And so many others.
Yeah.
We will not abandon you in your hour of need.
Yeah.
Because we are you.
Yeah.
And you are us.
Yeah.
The American people.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. That video was proof of Democrats fighting all across the country. And now we're going to get to our Q&As. Before we start, Leader Jeffries, I just want to personally thank you for this. This is an amazing opportunity to gather information and to get action and activate it and bring that back to community. So I thank you for this. So, like I said, 5 questions, different categories. I'm going to call the person's name and neighborhood, and they're going to give you their question. The first name is Veronica McDupree, and her question deals with Social Security. Where's Veronica? Come on up, Veronica. We got a microphone for her?
My question is, are they going to be closing the Social Security office in East New York, Cypress, or downtown Brooklyn? Because when I went to the office in Cypress, you can't make an appointment there. You have to call. And then when I called, it's 144 minutes wait. And then they said, well, leave a number. And when I left the number, I'm still waiting. That's from my birthday on February the 15th. No call back.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that question. And what we are seeing is this unprecedented assault on Social Security by people who think that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. It's not a Ponzi scheme. Project 2025 is a Ponzi scheme. So part of the assault is to try to close offices, as you've pointed out. They are increasing wait times, and they are denying people the ability to receive the benefits that you have earned, because Social Security is not an entitlement program, it's an earned benefit. An earned benefit that you've paid into throughout your entire life. Now, they have put several offices on the closure list, but we have stopped them from closing a single office in New York City. That's just the beginning, because we got to stop them all across the country. But we have stopped them from closing a single office in New York City. I will say that you're going to hear a lot about the fight to protect Medicaid, and that is one of the things that is under assault in this so-called Republican budget proposal. But a bit of good news in terms of Social Security and Medicare is this budget, this Republican budget effort, which we'll talk about later on this evening, is using a process called reconciliation that allows them to avoid the filibuster in the Senate. By the way, didn't my boy Cory Booker do his thing in the Senate? So they're using reconciliation to try to avoid the filibuster. That's why they use reconciliation, to avoid the filibuster, and they only have to get to 50 votes plus one, or the vice president can break a tie. So Medicaid is something that we're going to have to defend in this budget process. But thankfully, back in 1975, the then Congress had the sense, through what's called the Budget Control Act of 1975, to prohibit any Congress from touching Social Security or Medicare through the reconciliation process. And so we're going to have to battle this legislatively, but when you hear about what's being proposed in the context of the budget, at least as it relates to Social Security and the actual receipt of your benefits, that won't be on the table in this round. It may be on the table in subsequent rounds, but it won't be on the table in this round. One of the things that's going to be important for us to continue to make this point, and I'm asking all of you to make this point every time you can with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, because when you hear them talk about Social Security as an entitlement program, they're trying to set it up to go after it. But we know it's not an entitlement program. I learned this very early on. Wayne was talking about, I learned this very early on. My first job, I think I had just turned 15. I was at Midwood High School, and one of my boys who's here, Wilkie Cornelius, put me on to a job opportunity in Manhattan as an office messenger, going from office to office, dropping off packages in Midtown Manhattan. And the salary at the time, it was a minimum wage salary. I was making $3.35 an hour, y'all. And I felt like I was caking. Especially when I learned that since I was a full-time student at Midwood High School, only a part-time employee, I was told, at least this was the representation of me, I was not going to pay any taxes. No income taxes, no taxes. You're a high school student. So I took out a piece of paper and I multiplied $3.35 times the number of hours in that pay period to come up with the grand total. And I was looking forward to spending that money. I had it all figured out. I was going to go Albee Square Mall. Y'all remember Albee Square Mall? Get some new sneakers so I could look like Run DMC. And then the check came. And I had two questions. Who is FICA? And why is he taking my money? All of us, of course, have learned from the very beginning of our journey that you pay the FICA tax on your first job, you pay the FICA tax on your last job, you pay the FICA tax every single day that you work, because the FICA tax pays for your Social Security and your Medicare. It ain't an entitlement program, it's an earned benefit that you work for your entire life, and we're not gonna let anyone ever take it away from you.
All right now. Now, Leader Jeffries, I told the other speakers they had to be relegated to a certain amount of time. Now, I love hearing you speak, but we can't do any filibusters here tonight, okay? The second question comes from Sarah H., and she's from Canarsie, big up to Canarsie, and her question deals with immigration. Sarah H.?
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah with the Courier. So nice to have you here. Didn't think I would get picked. But my question is, as we know that they're not going to bring back the man that was sent to Guantanamo Bay, and a lot of people are speculating that he may physically no longer be here with us. And we're seeing people get snatched off the street by unidentifiable ICE agents. Like, I know that you may want to give me a really good political answer, but me and my friends, we're scared. Like, we are naturalized citizens, we pay our taxes, but we don't want to walk home and someone says blah, 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 and we're snatched, and no one can find us. They sent one Columbia student to Louisiana. They sent someone else. Like, how can we halt this? Because it's frightening, and what they're doing is frightening, and we don't feel safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that very important question, and this is probably one of the most egregious things that we've seen from an administration that has been completely and totally out of control, and this is going to be a battle. This is going to be a battle. Now, we understand we have to secure the border. We get it. We understand. We do have a broken immigration system. We've got to fix it. We should fix it, we've said, in a bipartisan and comprehensive way, to try to make sure that we live up to the American ideals, which is both a nation anchored in the rule of law and a nation of immigrants who have contributed to this country from the very beginning and do so through this day. City of New York is a city filled with amazing immigrant stories. And we're going to have to protect our dreamers, protect our farm workers, protect law-abiding immigrant families. This is one of those areas where we really are going to need both public pressure to raise our voices. We're going to do it as members of Congress, but we're going to need the American people to join us to make it clear this is not America, and we're not going to accept this type of targeting of law-abiding folks, law-abiding immigrants. And we're also going to need the courts to step up. And we're going to have to make it clear to the courts, and we will continue to do that, that if the administration is going to try to stare you down, the courts have to step up and respond aggressively and use the power that they have. If you issue an order, enforce the order. You can enforce the order through civil contempt, and you can enforce the order through criminal contempt. And the way to actually do it, because president, as we know, when the president is in office, has certain protections that are supposed to disappear upon leaving office. We'll deal with that at the appropriate time. But every single one of his cabinet officials don't have that same level of protection. Well, the people who are carrying out these orders don't have that same level of protection. And they need to feel some of the judicial heat. And if they are refusing to comply with an order or carrying out an unjust order, the courts need to hold them accountable. And they need to feel that judicial heat. And that's the point that we will continue to make until we get this situation turned around. Thank you for that question.
Next, in the category of jobs, we have J. Kizzy from East New York. Where's J. J. Kizzy, East. Okay, sister. Somebody get that sister a microphone.
Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Kizzy, born and raised in Brooklyn. As you see, I work for the Postal Service, and my question is in regards to them saying that they wanted to close down or remove the Postal Service when it's been in existence before, I think, the Constitution. And so that's my question. Where are we with that? Are they trying to eliminate it entirely? I was hearing if you only had under 2 years under your belt, then they could fire you because it's part of the federal government?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for your service as a postal worker. And we appreciate you. We appreciate all that our federal employees do on our behalf. Those last set of remarks that you heard in the video was when I was speaking at a rally in defense of our federal employees. They're in the fight of their lives, and we're going to stand with them every step of the way. You made a very important point that the post office actually is one of the only institutions actually mentioned in the Constitution. It is one of the oldest institutions in America and has always been viewed as vital to this country. In fact, it was, I think, Ben Franklin who was the first Postmaster General. That's how important the post office has been. And they have put a target on the back of the post office. Now, thankfully, in 2022, we were able to actually pass post office reform that did provide a lot of protection to postal employees and protect the continuation of service. So that is now a law that is on the books. That will be very difficult for them to overturn. In fact, we won't allow them to overturn it in the Congress. And so at least as of this moment, postal workers have a degree of protection that is built into the law that should allow you and the Postal Service to be able to ride out this storm until we can get to a better place. We say hands off Social Security, hands off Medicare, hands off health care, hands off the Postal Service as well. Thank you very much.
Question 4 is centered around veteran benefits, and with that question is Miss Norma Davis from East New York. Norma Davis from East New York. Is she in? Okay. Come on now, Ms.
Kind of
Norma.
feel like the price is right. Come on down.
Good evening, President Jeffries. I'm sorry, excuse me, Congressman.
Must have talked to my mom before this town hall meeting.
Civil number 1390, Norma Denise Davis standing here. Also a Social Security disability recipient, as well as a U.S. Army veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Recently, I did not have a female primary care physician at the VA. I needed some personal medical attention, so I sought outside the VA, Medicare for 62 and old, 65 and older, and come to find out I have a $1,200 bill because I didn't have Medicaid, but I did have Humana supplement. So I have now realized that Medicare is being affected as well. My question to you is, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? And I also would like to give you my memoir as a gift, and I pray that you read it.
All right. Thank you. And all right, God bless. Surviving the military. Thank you. So first of all, we will work to make sure we have someone from my staff connecting with you so we can, one, work on that bill and make sure we can get that covered. Nobody should be hit with that type of expense, and no one who has served this country should ever be hit with that type of expense. So we'll work on that. And again, Social Security and Medicare, we know are going to be on the firing lines once we get through this budget fight. Right now, Medicaid is front and center in terms of the budget fight, but Social Security and Medicare thereafter. Now, the thing that is important for everybody to know, one of the reasons why we were successful in winning the fight around Social Security in 2005 when they tried to privatize it, and even winning the fight around the Affordable Care Act. And remember, when we came to Congress, when I came to Congress, I think it was my fourth term, maybe third term, after the 2016 election, there were 241 Republicans in the Congress and only 194 Democrats. Now, the majority is much narrower, 220 to 215, when we both have full attendance. So it's close. And we got some work to do next year to finish the job. But it's close. And I say that because when the odds were even greater in 2017, when they had far deeper a majority, because the American people rose up, we were able to save the Affordable Care Act. Even though at the time, the benefits of the Affordable Care Act weren't fully appreciated. But we're in a stronger position in terms of our numbers, and we're in a stronger position in terms of how the American people feel, as evidenced by your presence here today, how the American people feel about protecting Social Security and Medicare, and Medicaid, by the way. In a recent survey that I saw, 85% of the American people had a favorable opinion on Social Security. I don't know who those 15% were, y'all. But 85%, highest, most popular program in America, Social Security, and right after it, Medicare at 84%, and then Medicaid at 81%. So we're starting with a foundation of the American people being with us in blue states, purple states, and red states, all across America, because it impacts everyone. And so we just have to stay in this fight. We will stay in this fight in order to protect the Medicare, as you've indicated, that you've earned and deserve. And because the American people are with us, I believe that at the end of the day, we're going to be successful, and we're going to protect your Medicare for decades to come.
Last question. The category, Leader Jeffries, is democracy, and the question comes straight out of Canarsie. Where is Earl Sadahu? Earl Sadahu. There you go, brother. I see you. Stand on up, brother. Stand on up. Get that brother a microphone. There you go.
Thank you. You have to hold it? All right.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to speak here this evening. My name is Earl Salahu. I'm a Canarsie resident for more than 40 years, and I'm also a Social Security recipient. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to speak about the attempt that is being made to defund NPR and PBS. This has been on the books ever since I came to this country, and for an attempt to defund it because it is conceived that it is a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. Your fellow Congressman Richards from Texas said that he will make every effort to defund this program because it's a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. I hope you realize that Democrats are taxpayers too, and they deserve every right to have PBS and NPR funded fully for the people of America. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What an incredibly important question, and it also speaks to the fact, and after I answer the question, we're going to go to a brief video, and then we'll go back to a few more questions before we wrap. But these are some mean-spirited individuals, cruel-hearted individuals. And you know that because what type of person goes after Big Bird, Bert, and Ernie? What is wrong with these individuals? And this speaks to a real challenge that we have in that throughout the entire election year, so-and-so who was on the campaign trail, y'all know who I'm talking about, and the House Republicans, all they talked about, for the most part, was how they were going to drive down the high cost of living. And they ran away from Project 2025, lied about it, acted like it didn't exist. And then they come into office and have done nothing to address the high cost of living. Not a single bill, not a single executive order, not a single administrative action, nothing to address the high cost of living. In fact, they're crashing the economy in real time because of their incompetence and their arrogance and their greed. And so, at the same period of time that they're running away from their promise to address the economy, which is why the American people on the economy are turning against them. That's happening in poll after poll after poll. At the same period of time, they are embracing Project 2025. That's what all of this is about. The flood the zone, the parade of horribles, all of this extreme action, it's all connected to Project 2025, including going after PBS. Now, they went after PBS when Newt Gingrich was Speaker. And the American people, partnering with Democrats in the House and in the Senate and across the country, rose up to stop it. And we're going to have to do the exact same thing. And we will do the exact same thing. They can only defund PBS through the appropriations process. And just like they may try to go after, as we heard from some of our neighbors, through the appropriations process that happens in September, and they may try to go after some veterans benefits, or may try to go after nutritional assistance. And in the appropriations process, we're going to make sure, no matter what it takes, they are not going to take a dime from any of these things. A dime from any of these things. And we have the ability to try to stop them in the House, and we definitely have the ability to stop them in the Senate. And I've gotten the assurance from Chuck Schumer that he's with us every step of the way in stopping these things from happening the next time it comes up in September. So we're going to go briefly to a video, and then we'll go to a few more questions, hear from one last person, and then we'll close. We'll try to get everyone out of here in the next 15 minutes. This is just the beginning in terms of our continued engagement to get us through this storm. But we wanted to show this video because Republicans have been instructed to try not to hold town hall meetings. Because whenever they show up, they can't defend their positions from their own folks. And so we've documented some of that, and we'll share this video. It's about a minute or so, and then we'll wrap with a few final questions.
Some Republicans in swing districts, they're getting hammered by protesters outside their offices.
Where's Tom Barrett? Where's Tom Barrett?
Dozens of protesters gathered outside Minnesota Representative Michelle Fischbach's offices in Wilmer on Wednesday. They're calling on Fischbach to oppose President Trump's policies.
The focus was on Congressman Don Bacon as a crowd gathered outside his office, demanding that he find time to speak directly with his constituents.
Unfortunately, we haven't seen one scheduled from him so far.
A spokesperson for Don Bacon says he's booked months in advance.
We also asked Colorado Republican members of Congress if they support Medicaid cuts. Only Gabe Evans got back to us, but didn't provide a clear answer.
Did you know that the VA was in charge of payments for illegals for housing?
That's a red herring, a false flag.
Representative Hearn would not criticize the cuts or the way that they're being handled. He's on the most supported budget committee in Washington, and today several of his constituents told him they didn't think he was doing his job.
Will you call Elon Musk in to testify under oath?
The group of protesters claims Zinke puts public figures, including President Donald Trump and Elon Musk, before his constituents. They also have a litany of complaints against the congressman.
The people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
Across the board, he's done some very good things. I think
Patients and healthcare workers are holding an emergency town hall to stop Medicaid cuts that they say would devastate Bakersfield families. They're urging Congressman David Valadao to stand against any proposed cuts.
The group hoping to get the attention of Congressman Jay Obernolte on this issue.
Another protest against the Trump administration, this time in front of Congressman Pete Stauber's office in Hermantown. We reached out to Congressman Stauber for comment regarding the protest, but have not heard back yet.
The end result of the fraud and abuse that has been discovered already.
Absolutely no proof.
Okay. All right. The American people are not having it, y'all. They're not having it, and we got to keep the pressure on until we can break them from the standpoint of their extreme positions, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I think we're going to go to 2 more questions.
Right.
And then we'll hear from one of our leaders of the nursing union, and then we can close with some final thoughts.
Awesome. This question, Leader Jeffries, is in the category of immigration, and it's written by Diana Aileen Wilson. Where's Diana? Diana? There she is. Someone get Diana a microphone.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you, Speaker Jeffries, for the opportunity for me to ask this question, because it's been burning within people who I know who are traveling and coming into the airport, and Homeland Security is asking them to open their phones so that they can read what is on their phones. Is this legal?
It's a very important question. It's a very good question, a very troubling thing in terms of what we are seeing. This is what has been unleashed on us by far-right extremism. Now, the way the law is currently written, and we're going to have to get some clarity from the courts, when you are traveling back into the country, if there's probable cause, which probably does not exist in this instance, there is an ability for Homeland Security officials to search and check to see if things that may not be kosher, as they say, are connected to what you may be bringing into the country. Now, that's the general rule. But what we're seeing is that they're being hyper-aggressive, likely flouting the law and the Constitution. And this is part of one of the many different lawsuits that have been filed. I mentioned earlier that it's all hands on deck in the Congress, it's all hands on deck in the courts, and it's all hands on deck in communities across the country to win the hearts and minds of the American people. The courts, which we spent a little time talking about, but there's a graphic I'd ask to be put up. From the beginning, we knew that part of our early strategy had to be to sue them as often as we could. And that's Democratic Attorney Generals like Tish James, who's doing a great job on our behalf.
Right.
I had her on one of our telephone town hall meetings. We've had about 4 this year, and we'll keep those up as well, since not everybody can make it to an in-person town hall meeting. But whenever I introduce Tish James, I say she's Brooklyn's dream and Donald Trump's worst nightmare. And so we're going to continue to work with Tish James and the Democratic Attorney Generals and the civil rights groups and the democracy reform groups and the ACLU, all of whom I'm in regular communication with, so we can stop some of these violations, these abuses of law that are taking place. And that's going to be an ongoing effort. Right now, more than 150 or so lawsuits, and it keeps going up, have been filed related to at least 75 different unconstitutional and unlawful executive orders. And there are at least 70 different decisions stopping things from taking place. 70 different decisions. The overwhelming majority of which they have not contested. We got to deal with this immigration situation, and we are. But the volume of lawsuits that we filed from all of these tremendous advocates standing up for our democracy is an important part of our pushback effort. Last point that I'd make on this, because what we're seeing, part of all of this is an assault on the gorgeous mosaic of America. An America that looks like everyone here, of every different race and different religious backgrounds. And they're going after diversity, equity, and inclusion as if diversity, equity, and inclusion is the problem. That's not the problem. I mean, it's incredible to me because diversity, equity, and inclusion are American values. American values. I've said this on the floor of the House. I'll continue to say it. E pluribus unum. That's the creed of this nation. Out of many, one. That's diversity. 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, equal protection under the law. One of the most important constitutional provisions that we have. Equal protection under the law. That's equity. And every time we start a session in the House of Representatives, we pledge allegiance to the flag. It happens here during assemblies on the Canarsie High School campus and all across America. And we conclude that pledge by promising liberty and justice for all. ALL, that's inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion aren't the problem. They are American values. We're going to defend those American values because we believe in merit. And that's merit which should be based on what you know, not who you know. Because the Trump administration is not about merit, and we know it's not about merit because they're filled with unqualified people like the Defense Secretary, the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history. And I want to stay On Pete Hegseth's, I'm going to stay on him until Pete Hegseth is fired. And that's where we're going to start.
For our last question, Leader Jeffries, we're going to go back to the topic of democracy. This question was written by Michelle from Georgetown. Michelle, are you here? Okay. Someone get Michelle a microphone, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Congressman, for just having this town hall meeting for all of us here in person. So my question is about like just a bigger thing of what's really, of how it's happening here, right? So it's not just about Social Security, it's about just our rights being taken away, period. I want to know, moving forward from this meeting, and from, I know that in every town, in every state, there's one of these town hall meetings happening in person. What is the next step for Congress? I want to know, what are you guys going to do? What do you want us to do? Like, we're going to write letters, we're going to do all these different things, but what is the next step so that Trump does not violate or continue to violate any more of our constitutional rights? Because what he's doing right now is that he is breaking down, destroying our Constitution, destroying our democracy, step by step. So I want to know, like, what do we do from here? What do you need us to do? Do we need to have a national strike day where all of us just go and march down Washington? What do you need us to do? And then what are you guys planning to do from this point so that this doesn't keep on happening? Because every day there's something new.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you for that very important question. And so this is going to require a level of intensity, and I've said this to my colleagues in the Congress, unlike anything we've ever been called upon to do before. Other Americans have been called upon to do it. Our civil rights heroes were called upon to do it. Jim Crow was a form of authoritarianism that lasted for about 100 years in the Deep South. And they decided to rise up, had the courage and the character and conviction to do so. We're going to have to summon that same courage, character, and conviction. So today, throughout America, we had our Social Security Day of Action, which of course in this town hall we brought in because we know all of the things, there's so many issues that we have to tackle. And earlier in the day, I had more Social Security specific actions in the district, in the Shirley Chisholm State Office building. On Thursday, all across America's House Democrats, working with our Senate colleagues, will be partnering on a Medicaid Matters Day of Action because Medicaid is under assault. They're trying to enact the largest Medicaid cut in American history, which we are working hard to fight. They want to do that through their reckless Republican budget. And that's going to be a big focus for us all across the country on Thursday. It'll be our second national Medicaid Day of Action. Next week, we'll have a week of action focused on the cost of living and the fact that they've broken their promises related to lowering your high cost of living, and instead they're going after the rule of law, democracy, and the American way of life. So we're tying it in to exactly the points that you have raised. But this is going to require sustained intensity. They wake up each and every day trying to figure out how to corrupt America and our values. And so we've got to do the same exact thing. We will each and every day, each and every week, each and every month, this year, next year, until we can end this thing. And it is going to require the American people, as all of you are doing. And so there are really three things that I would encourage people to continue to do. First, stay in touch with your member of Congress. That's me. And all of you know to do that, but encourage your friends and your family members and your neighbors to do the same. That's going to be incredibly important. Stay in touch with each other. Do the same with our U.S. senators, Leader Schumer and Senator Gillibrand. They're on our side. But we got to stay in touch with them. Share with them your thoughts, just like you shared with me your thoughts. That's going to be important because we want to elevate all of your voices. Make sure to show up at events as you all have done, and then encourage your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers to do the same. Because these events get elevated and help us reach the American people. It lives on social media, it lives on traditional media, and it lives in our ability to continue to communicate with the American people all of the things that you are concerned about, just like we've been able to successfully do in past battles. And then the last thing I'd say is that there are organizations that people can join, local organizations, your civic groups. You're from Georgetown or in Canarsie or in Bed-Stuy or in East New York or Brownsville, in Coney Island, all of the neighborhoods that I'm privileged to represent. And then there are national organizations, and we can help connect you with all of them, whether that's the ACLU or the NAACP or the Urban League or the National Action Network. They're all in this fight with you and in this fight on your behalf. And those are going to be the things that will be important for us to continue to do. I have some final words, but now I think we're going to yield to one last community leader.
Right.
Well, yeah, okay, well, thank you for that. I'll address that in my closing remarks. It was the SAVE Act.
Right.
And we'll address that. By the way, I voted against the SAVE Act, which is a voter suppression bill, and I'll address that in my final remarks. But let me yield back to our moderator, and then we can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Leader. So, without further ado, let me announce Nancy Higgins, BSN, RN, CCRN. Ms. Higgins is the National Nurses United President and will speak about Medicaid. Nancy is a critical care RN at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York. She is a leader in her union social justice work and was instrumental in NYSNA's 2022 affiliation with the National Nurses United, which brought NYSNA into the AFL-CIO. She has been recognized for her contributions to the field of nursing by numerous organizations, including Crane's New York Business List of Top 50 Most Professional Women in New York, and Crane's Women of Influence who work in healthcare, as well as the City and State New York Power of Diversity Black 100 list and Healthcare Power 100 list, and Politics New York's Power Players in Healthcare. Please put your hands together for Nancy Higgins.
Hello, good evening. Oh, you could do a little better. All right, my name is Nancy Higgins. I've been a nurse more than 30 years, and I work right here in Brooklyn at Maimonides Medical Center, Safety Net Hospital. So, and I'm also the president of National Nurses United, one of the largest unions in the country, representing registered nurses across the country, as well as the president of the New York State Nurses Association. And I'd like to say hi to one of our constituent, Mercedes Narcis, one of our nurses. As you know, last week, the House and the Senate Republicans approved a budget resolution that would lead to massive funding, cuts to many life-saving programs like Medicaid. As a nurse, I have a deep understanding of the devastating impact these cuts will be on our patients. Nurses, the hospitals, and clinics we work in, the entire healthcare system is going to be in big trouble. I work at a safety net hospital in New York City. A large number of our patients rely on Medicaid for their health care. Medicaid is a life-saving program. It has helped many patients get the preventive care that they keep, that keeps them healthy, and to receive their medications and treatment when they are ill. Medicaid ensures that millions of women receive prenatal, maternal, and postpartum care, and that their babies and children have health care. Millions of people with disabilities and seniors rely on Medicaid to provide long-term services and support. More than 72 million, 1 in 5 people rely on Medicaid. Additionally, 4 out of 10 children, 4 out of 10 seniors depends on Medicaid. Everyone in this room certainly knows someone who relies on Medicaid. Receiving quality care is fundamental. The economic stability of families and communities. People who are enrolled in Medicaid are much likely to maintain stable work because they are able to get the treatment and the care they need. Isn't that correct? Yes. Okay, but without Medicaid, tens of millions of people will be left without health care coverage because our current profit care system leaves many behind. Cutting Medicaid will be catastrophic. If these funding cuts happen, people will die. Hospitals like the one that I work will see higher rates of underinsured patients and uncompensated care, less nurses, less care. This will put a safety net hospital like mine at a financial risk. This will lead to hospitals closures, shutting down critical services, or hospital closing altogether. For many people who remain enrolled in Medicaid, they will likely have a harder time finding a provider who accepts Medicaid and will experience delay in care. Rural hospitals are already fighting to keep their doors open, and without support of Medicaid's fund, it will be even harder for them to continue to provide care. We are at a critical moment. Now, the time budget resolution is passed, Republicans are one step closer to gutting Medicaid in order to give tax to the ultra wealthy. And we cannot let this happen. Communities like ours could lose their hospitals and health centers. Millions of people could be unenrolled from their health care plans. And nurses and healthcare workers will lose their jobs. I am grateful to be here today with you and taking part of this conversation with you. Leader Jeffries, thank you. Nurses are ready to fight with you. We are ready to fight with you. I look forward to hearing about a discussion, ways we can fight together to protect our Medicaids and our right to health care. Like I always say, when we fight, we win. And we are ready to fight with you, leader. We're ready.
Give it up for our president once again. So thankful for you.
Okay, how do we feel, crowd? How are we feeling right now? Are we activated? Are we ready to go out and support this work? Are we ready to oppose these cuts? Absolutely, because when we fight, we win. Okay, Leader Jeffries. You ready to go, sister, right? Leader Jeffries?
Well, let's give it up for Marlon. So thankful for you for presiding over this town hall meeting. I also want to acknowledge my sister in the fight, Councilwoman Mercedes Narcisse. Thank you for being here and for staying the entire time to hear what our constituents have to say to us. So in closing, the SAVE Act was mentioned. SAVE Act was voter suppression legislation that Republicans brought to the House floor last week. Democrats strongly opposed it in the House. They're saying that the SAVE Act is to try to ensure that only American citizens vote in federal elections. We don't need a congressional law to say that. The Constitution says that. And so why are they bringing the SAVE Act, so-called SAVE Act, this voter suppression legislation, why did they bring it to the floor? It's because they are trying to stop people from voting. and they are actually trying to require American citizens to present documents like passports. Only about 25 to 30% of the American people have passports. And so it's like a modern day poll tax. You're going to require people to go out, pay hundreds of dollars to get a passport. Y'all know it's already difficult to get a passport. And that was under the prior administration. And this administration is totally incompetent. The other problem is that women who get married and have changed their name no longer have their maiden name, but their husband's name, as often is the case, aren't going to be able to present documentation. Their birth certificate may not match their current identification. And so the Democratic Women's Caucus has risen up strongly against this legislation. In fact, I think Citizens Union, Citizens Action, is going to hold a rally on Thursday in New York City, anti-SAVE Act rally. And we are going to stop this legislation. I've talked to my Democratic colleagues in the Senate, and it doesn't have a single Democratic vote in the Senate, and it would need at least 7 in order to pass. And so we just have to have our Democratic senators hold the line. I believe they will. And this voter suppression bill will never see the light of day. Never see the light of day. Now, there's another thing that I want to mention in closing, and we can put this on the screen, because Donald Trump, in the Oval Office, signed this so-and-so. That's right, I slipped and said his name. I was just trying to make sure y'all were paying attention. Keep me honest. So-and-so signed the so-called executive order. It was a voter suppression executive order, trying to do all of the things that the so-called SAVE Act is trying to do, but trying to do it through executive action. He does not have the power to do that. And so all of the Democrats, the House Democrats partnered with the Senate Democrats, partnered with the Democratic National Committee, who partnered with the Democratic Governors Association, and I even joined the lawsuit. Is it up on screen? I even joined the lawsuit as an individual on your behalf. And I like this name, Jeffries versus Trump. And so we sued him in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, and we believe we will win. We believe we will win because this effort to try to change voting laws by executive action, he cannot do it, and we will prevail at every level of the court so that you can determine who represents you in office, just like the voters of Wisconsin determined who was going to win that Supreme Court race, and they decided that Wisconsin would win and Elon Musk would lose. And that's why we got to protect your ability to vote so that your voice can be heard, and we'll continue to do that. This attack that we see on trying to erase our history, Black history is American history. We'll never let them erase it. And they keep trying us, and we keep pushing back. They tried to erase, y'all know, Jackie Robinson. And we reversed it. They tried to erase Harriet Tubman, and we reversed it. They tried to erase the Tuskegee Airmen, and we reversed it. I don't care how often they try it, every single time they try to erase our history, we're going to reverse it. Because our history is American history. And actually, we need it now more than ever. And I'll end with this thought, because we have to lean into that history, learn from that history, be inspired by that history in order to make our own history and get through this moment. I had the opportunity last month to go on the annual pilgrimage to Selma for the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. It happens every year, and I've been a few times, but this was the most recent time that I was able to go. 60th anniversary, go to Selma. Also spent time in Montgomery. And we know that Selma, Birmingham, and Montgomery, that was the heart of the civil rights movement. And as I was down there, I thought about just their struggle, the odds that they faced. Trouble all around them. No rational reason to believe that they could be successful. Up against George Wallace and Bull Connor and Sheriff Jim Crow and all of those racist and oppressive individuals in a system that had been around for 100 years. But they believed in America, they believed in themselves, and they believed in the power to turn things around. That civil rights movement started in Montgomery, Alabama, when Rosa Parks sat down so that everybody else could stand up. That began in December of 1955. A few months after that, and it was led, of course, by Dr. King, he came to Brooklyn in a gathering not unlike this. It was in Bed-Stuy, the Concord Baptist Church. And Dr. King spoke to folks, and they were intimidating the civil rights leaders, harassing them, all of the things that we've talked about here today. Some people were discouraged, disheartened. Could they succeed? Dr. King said to them early on in the civil rights movement, this was in March of 1956, he said that we've got to press on and keep pressing. And then Dr. King told that group in Brooklyn, if you can't fly, run. He said, if you can't run, walk. And if you can't walk, crawl. But at all times, press on and keep pressing. And that's the moment that we find ourselves in right now. And we're going to equip everyone with the ability to do just that. But the big takeaway is that we have to press on. Press on for our children, press on for our seniors, press on for immigrant communities, press on for our veterans, press on for our unions, press on for working families, press on for the middle class, press on for the poor, press on for the sick, press on for the afflicted, press on for the least, press on for the lost, press on for the left behind, press on for Social Security, press on for Medicare, press on for Medicaid, press on for our veterans, press on for public schools, press on for civil rights, press on for voting rights, press on for racial justice, press on for social justice, press on for economic justice, press on for freedom, press on for democracy. We're going to press on until victory is won. God bless you, Canarsie.
No peace.